Welcome to the Rare Sats podcast, where we uncover Bitcoin's best-kept secrets, rare Satoshis. Every episode, we dive into these hidden digital treasures, exploring their value, their history, and why collectors are obsessed. Whether you're here to learn or looking to collect, we'll give you the insights you need to stay ahead in the crypto game. Ready to join the hunt? Hit subscribe, and let's dive in. Welcome back, everybody, to the Rare Sats podcast. We're back for another deep dive, and today we're going to be talking about a very special type of rare sat, something called an epic sat.
Epic indeed.
I actually have a question for you off the bat. How many epic sats do you think will ever exist?
That's a great question. I'm going to have to think about that one for a little bit.
Okay. All right. We'll come back to that later in the episode. But first, we got to lay the groundwork. You've got to explain what an epic sat actually is. So for anyone just joining us, maybe this is your first time tuning in, you might be asking, what is a rare sat? Well, in a nutshell, a rare sat is a single Satoshi sather, the smallest unit of a Bitcoin that has some kind of special property that makes it stand out from all the other Satoshis out there. Maybe it's part of the first Bitcoin ever mined, or maybe it was owned by Satoshi Nakamoto himself, the mysterious creator of Bitcoin. These rare sats are like little pieces of Bitcoin history, and they can be incredibly valuable to collectors. Now, an epic sat is like a rare sat on steroids. It's even rarer and even more valuable.
That's right. And what makes epic sats so special is that they're tied to these major moments in Bitcoin's history, the halving events.
Ah, yes, the halvings. Again, for anyone who's new to Bitcoin, halvings happen roughly every 4 years, and they basically cut the rate at which new Bitcoins are created in half. It's a big deal. It's built into Bitcoin's code to help control inflation and keep Bitcoin scarce.
Exactly. And an epic sat is the very first Satoshi mine in the block immediately after a halving.
So not just any Satoshi from those blocks, but the very first one. That is incredibly specific. Talk about a needle in a haystack.
Yeah, it's incredibly rare. And to give you an idea of just how valuable these epic sats are, the fourth one that was ever mined just sold at auction for a mind-blowing $2.1 million.
Yeah, that auction on CoinEx was crazy. 34 bids coming in from all over the world, people really battling it out to own this piece of Bitcoin history. I mean, can you imagine owning something like that?
It's wild. It really speaks to the growing recognition of scarcity and historical significance within the Bitcoin ecosystem. People are starting to realize that these digital assets can hold immense value, just like physical collectibles.
And you know what's even cooler about this fourth epic sat that was sold? It wasn't just bought to sit in a digital wallet. It was actually used to inscribe something called ordinals art.
Ah, yes. Ordinals. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, so ordinals are this really fascinating new way to create and verify digital assets on the Bitcoin blockchain.
And I think for our listeners, it helps to remember that each Satoshi is the smallest unit of a Bitcoin.
Right. And with ordinals, each Satoshi gets its own unique identifier, kind of like a serial number.
So with ordinals, you can actually link a specific Satoshi, like an epic sat, to a digital artwork, making it a permanent and verifiable part of that art's history.
Exactly. It's like having a digital certificate of authenticity etched directly onto the Bitcoin blockchain. So this fourth epic sat that sold for over $2 million is now forever linked to this piece of ordinals art called Spikes, which is part of a larger project called Book of Blob.
And Spikes is pretty interesting in itself. It uses AI-generated vocals from the musician Grimes and explores these really deep themes of the mind, brain, and consciousness.
It's pretty mind-blowing to think that this single, incredibly rare Satoshi is now intertwined with this piece of cutting-edge digital art. It's like this collision of Bitcoin history and the future of art all in one little Satoshi.
Yeah, it really highlights the evolving nature of Bitcoin. We used to think of it solely as digital gold, but now it's becoming this platform for creating and owning these really unique digital assets.
And it's not just about the art itself, right? Remember how we were talking about how each Satoshi gets this unique identifier with ordinals?
Right. Right.
Well, that identifier can actually be used to create something called a rune.
Oh, yeah, runes. So essentially, a rune is like a child of the original Satoshi. It came from it, inherits the legacy and the value of its parent Satoshi. But it can also have its own unique properties and use cases.
So in the case of this fourth epic sat that was used to create a rune, it has a pretty epic name. It's called Epic.
Yeah, that's a mouthful.
That's a lot of epic.
But you know that Rune is already making waves in the ordinals market. It's seen over $1 million in trading volume already, and it has a market cap of close to $50 million.
It's crazy to think that this single epic sat has spawned this whole ecosystem of value.
Yeah, it's really remarkable.
It's like planting a seed that grows into a whole forest.
And this is just one example. Every epic sat has the potential to create its own legacy of runes, inscriptions, and maybe even applications we haven't even thought of yet.
So going back to my question from the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to think about how many epic sats will ever exist?
I have, and I'm curious to hear your guess.
Okay, well, I was thinking about it earlier, and I was thinking maybe like 16. Maybe one for each halving that's happened so far, and then one for each halving that will happen in the future.
That's an interesting guess. But you got to remember, we're talking about a process that's fundamentally tied to the scarcity of Bitcoin itself.
Okay, you're right. I'm thinking too small. I need to think a little bigger. All right, I got it. I'm going to revise my guess. I think there will only ever be 32 epic sats.
You got it. That's exactly right.
Oh, wow. Okay, I was way off with 16. But 32, that's still such a small number when you think about all the people who use Bitcoin.
It really is. And that scarcity, that's what makes them so valuable. Owning an epic sat, it's like owning a piece of Bitcoin history, a tangible connection to these major shifts in its life cycle.
It makes you wonder what stories that very first epic sat could tell the one from the first halving back in 2012.
It's really something else. It makes you think, what will the future hold for these epic sats? What will they be worth in 10, 20, even 50 years?
And you know what else is so cool about epic sats? It's not just about owning them. It's about what you can do with them. Like we were talking about with the ordinals art and the runes, there are so many possibilities. Art, music, fractional ownership. It's like holding this winning lottery ticket to the future of Bitcoin collectibles.
I know, it's exciting to think about, and it really shows how Bitcoin is evolving.
So to wrap things up today, I want to leave our listeners with a question. What do you think the next epic sat will sell for in 2028? What kind of inscription will it hold?
Head over to our social media and let us know your predictions.
And of course, be sure to subscribe to the Rare Sats podcast for more fascinating deep dives into the world of Bitcoin's rarest treasures. Until next time, keep on stacking those sats